In the center of the Galactic Union's Grand Assembly Hall, filled with shining walls, floating lights, and voices full of pride, sat a young girl from a dangerous world. The name was Kaylin Vier, the only human in the room. She didn't speak. She didn't stand. She simply sat still like a mountain among a storm of words. Around her, alien ambassadors from faraway stars walked proudly, shaking hands, laughing loudly, making deals. They came from clean, advanced worlds. Safe worlds. Soft worlds. Kaylin came from Earth, now called a deathworld. Earth was a place full of wild storms, poisoned oceans, broken cities, and monsters. It was a place where gravity crushed bones and the air could burn your skin. Most species and the Union had never even visited a death world. They said no one could live there. But humans did. Kaylin was one of them. "Why is she here?" whispered an ambassador, with long golden skin and 4 eyes. "She hasn't said a word all day." "Just a girl," said another, laughing. "They say she grew up fighting wild beasts. I think she grew up eating mud and staring at rocks." Colin heard them. She always heard, but she didn't react. She was used to the whispers, used to being watched. People were curious about her, the last living envoy from a dying planet. Some were scared of her, some were amused, but most thought she was nothing. A joke. Still, she sat, her hands resting on her lap, her eyes calm but sharp. Always watching then, great silver doors opened with a hiss. Everyone turned. He had arrived. Kethral, the High Dominant of the Palinari, floated into the room, carried by waves of glowing energy. His eyes were deep blue, glowing with power. His robes were covered in the symbols of thought and war. He was not just an ambassador, he was a mind-piercer, a master of psionic force. People moved aside quickly. Even the proudest diplomats bowed their heads. He had taken entire planets just by bending minds. No army, no weapons, just thought Kaylin. Did not bow. She stayed seated. The air grew tight. Everyone noticed. Kethral's eyes locked onto her. He smiled. Not with kindness, but with interest. "You must be the girl from the death world," he said, his voice smooth but cold. "Still seated?" Kaylin did not answer. "How curious," he said, stepping closer. So quiet. Like a broken machine. The room grew quiet. "She doesn't speak," someone whispered. "Maybe she can't." Kethral stood before her now, his long fingers glowing faintly with psychic light. "Tell me," he asked, louder now, so all could hear. "Do you even understand where you are? This is not your savage world. This is the Union, a place of power, of mind, of grace." Kaylin sat, watching him. The mind-piercer leaned in. "No thoughts to share? No fire? No fight? Then let me see what hides inside you." Gasps filled the room. He was reaching for her mind. A deep insult. A violation? Kaylin did not blink. The glowing energy reached her forehead. Then her eyes flashed. The air snapped, a sound soft, but sharp, like a spark before a storm. Kethral stepped back suddenly. He looked confused. Kaylin had not moved, not even an inch. But something in the air had changed. Something deep. The ambassador stared at her now, not with laughter, but with shock. Kaylin looked up, her voice quiet but clear. "Don't touch what you don't understand." No one spoke, not even Kethral, for the first time in years. The mind-piercer was afraid, and Kaylin still hadn't stood. The assembly hall was silent. The air felt heavier now. The floating lights above flickered for a moment, like they too were holding their breath. Kaylin Vier still sat calmly in her chair. Her face showed no fear. Her eyes, sharp and cold, stayed on Kethral, the mind-piercer. He had touched her mind without permission. Now he was angry. No one had ever blocked his powers before, not without strong shields or psionic tech. But Kaylin had done it with nothing. No weapon, no shield, no words. Just will. Kethral stepped forward again. His hands were no longer glowing softly. Now they pulsed with sharp, crackling light. You dare resist me, he hissed. A Deathworld girl thinks she can stand against a mind-piercer. He was no longer amused, he was furious. The other ambassadors looked nervous. They didn't speak. Some slowly moved back, unsure what was about to happen. Kaylin stayed seated, her voice calm as still water. I didn't stand, she said softly, and yet you felt me. That answer only made Kethral angrier. He raised his hand high, the light around his fingers twisting like a storm. I could crush your bones with a thought, he said. Make you scream without ever touching your skin. I could erase your name from your own mind. Still, Kaylin didn't move. Then in a flash he attacked. Kethral lunged forward, faster than anyone thought he could move. His hand aimed straight for Kellen's neck. A blow meant to paralyze, maybe even kill. But before he could land the strike, she moved. Only once. Only just enough. She twisted in her chair, her right leg sweeping out low and fast. It caught the back of Kethral's knees. His body flew forward, off balance. In the same moment, Kaylin grabbed his robe with one hand and pulled hard, using all her weight. Her other elbow struck his side, a sharp, perfect hit to the floating nerve cluster near his spine. Crack. The sound echoed through the hall like a thunderclap. Ral's body flipped in the air and slammed into the marble floor across the room. He landed hard, his body twisted strangely. He did not get up. The lights above flickered again. Gasps filled the chamber. Some cried out. Others stared in frozen shock. Kaylin stood slowly, her motion smooth, without fear or hurry. She looked down. At the fallen mind-piercer, he was still breathing, but barely. His legs didn't move. His face twisted in pain and disbelief. You wanted to look into my mind? She said softly, so all could hear. Now you understand what lives there. The head diplomat, a tall alien with glassy skin and silver robes, stepped forward. Yes. Voice shook slightly. You broke him. Kaylin looked at him. No, I gave him a lesson, but his spine will heal, she said. If he's lucky. No one laughed anymore. No one whispered. The room, once full of proud voices, was now silent like a grave. For the first time, the galaxy's most powerful leaders saw what a Deathworlder truly was. Not just a survivor of a savage world, but a weapon shaped by endless danger. Didn't gloat. She didn't smile. She just pushed her chair back in place and stood straight. I warned him, she said simply. And with that, she walked away. Behind her, Kethral groaned softly. But he did not rise. No one tried to stop her. And for the rest of the session, no one, not even the proudest, stayed seated when Kaylin entered the room. The air in the assembly hall was no longer calm. After Kellen's quiet warning, everyone felt it. Something cold, something strange. Kethral, the mind-piercer, had stepped back. His hand, glowing with power moments before, now hung useless. At his side, he did not speak. His face had changed. The usual smile was gone. He was confused, curious, and maybe, just maybe, afraid. Kaylin still sat, her face calm, her hand still resting. She hadn't raised her voice. She hadn't moved. She had stopped him. A being who could control the minds of armies with just a few words and a single look, whispers, started again. How did she stop him? She didn't use any power. No weapons. Did you see her eyes? They flashed. Kethral blinked slowly, trying to understand. No one had ever resisted his psychic touch without a shield or defense field. But the girl from the Deathworld, she had nothing. No armor, no tech, just will. He narrowed his glowing eyes. You are full of secrets, he said softly. More to himself than to her. Kaylin stayed silent. The mind-piercer smiled again. Yeah, but this time it was smaller, tighter. Forced. You hide behind stillness, he said louder, speaking to the whole room now, but I think it is fear. Fear dressed as control. A few diplomats nodded, trying to believe it. It was easier to think of her as scared than as strong. Kethral walked in a slow circle around Kellen's chair, like a predator thinking. Your people are known for strength. Yes, for madness even. But you are alone. You sit in silence because you have no place here. Kalen looked at him, quiet, cold. Her eyes never left his. You don't belong. In this hall of minds and peace, you belong in dirt and fire, he said, his voice now full of force. Still, Kalen sat. This made him angry. You disrespect this place by doing nothing, he snapped. Insult me by staying in that chair. Like you are above us. Again, no answer. Kalen didn't need words. She knew the power of waiting, of watching, of letting others show their weakness. Kethral was showing his now. He stepped closer, his voice low. Stand, little Deathworlder. Face me. Prove your worth. The room tensed. This was no longer a meeting. It was something else now. Something dangerous. Kalen didn't stand. Instead, she spoke. Her voice was soft but clear. You think I need to rise to show my strength? Kethral's eyes narrowed. You think your mind is the only weapon in the galaxy? She asked. You know so little about pain, about survival, about fear that becomes strength, he growled, frustrated. You think you can challenge me from that chair? I know I can, she said. The mind-piercer laughed hard, cold, cruel. Then show me. Without warning, he moved fast. Too fast for most to see, he reached for her neck. A sharp strike. Aimed to choke control and end the insult. And then everything changed. Kalen moved too, but not like the others. Not with flashy power. Not. With sound, she shifted. One sharp twist. One kick from her leg. Perfect motion. Fast. Clean. Brutal. Her foot struck his knee. His body turned, off balance. She grabbed his arm, pulled, slammed her elbow into his chest. Crack. The sound was horrible. The mind-piercer flew through the air. His body hit the far wall with a loud thud. He dropped to the floor like a broken doll. He did not get up. Gasps filled the room. One ambassador even screamed. Kalen stood now, slowly, quietly. I warned you, she said. Don't touch what you can't understand. Shock covered every face. The mind-piercer, the strongest among them, was broken, and the Deathworlder girl had barely begun to fight. The silence in the room was deep, heavy, the kind of silence that comes after something. Big happens, something no one saw coming. Kethral, the great mind-piercer of the Palinari, lay on the far side of the assembly hall, twisted and broken. He was gasping for air, his eyes wide, his body still. His back was shattered, his power dash gone. And Kalen Vior, the quiet girl from the Deathworld, was finally standing. Everyone stared. No one spoke. Even the floating lights above seemed frozen in place. Just seconds ago, Kethral had tried to attack her. He moved fast, with deadly force, reaching for her mind with both thought and body. He had wanted to show the room her weakness, but instead, they had seen his cell and had not needed weapons. She didn't shout. She didn't rise in panic. She had waited, then moved once. With calm, perfect timing, she had swept her leg under his feet, twisted his fall, and sent him flying across the hall like he was weightless. He had landed hard, too hard. Bones broken, pride shattered. And Kalen, she didn't even breathe hard. Ambassadors from over 50 species were now looking at her not with mockery. Not with fear alone, but with respect. Still, they were shocked. They'd always believed that strength came from power, technology, or psychic skill. Kalen had none of those. She had will, she had control, and she had survived a world that would kill most of them in a single day. The head of the assembly, tall, being wrapped in golden vines, stepped forward slowly. What happened here? He said, voice quiet but firm, is not usual. This is a place of peace. Kalen turned to him. Then peace must have rules, and all must follow them. The golden being nodded. You could have killed him. I didn't, she replied. Because I'm not here to destroy. I'm here to remind? Remind? Someone whispered from the crowd. Kaylin looked around at all of them. Her voice was still soft, but now it filled the room. You speak of peace, but many here use their powers to push others down, to test them, to insult them. You see someone different, and you think they are weaker. She looked down at Keth, Raoul's unmoving form. Power isn't only in the mind, it's in the heart. It's in the will to stay calm when challenged, to sit when others want you to rise, and to act only when you must. There was silence again, but this time it was not empty. It was full thoughts of feelings, of questions no one had asked before. She walked back to her chair. Slowly, gently, she bent, lifted it, and placed it neatly under the table. Then she turned to leave. As she walked through the grand doors, the crowd parted. No one dared stop her. No one whispered anymore. Now they were all curious. Who was this girl who could face the strongest mind in the galaxy and stay standing? They were engaged, leaning forward in their seats, trying to understand what they had just seen. They were feeling something new, something strong, a mix of fear and wonder. And above all, they were shocked because Kaylin Vier had shown them something they had forgotten in all their power and pride, that true strength isn't loud, it isn't showy, it isn't cruel. True strength is quiet, it is calm, it waits. And then, when the time is right, it breaks what tries to break it, and then walks away.